The best tool to attack an identification at a trial is what's called a Kloiber instruction. In this video, we will discuss how to get a Kloiber instruction and what a Kloiber instruction is so we can win your case. Hi, my name is Lonnie Fish from the Liberty Law Team, and we represent people who have been injured or accused of crimes here in Pennsylvania. Very often, when people are charged with crimes, the accuser is somebody that didn't know. And sometimes we go to court, we're going to try to challenge the identification. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court case that established all the rules and standards that we currently use for identifications is Kloiber, Kloiber. In Kloiber, his brother and another friend of his were alleged to have been two armed robbers, and all three were arrested. Two of them gave signed confessions. In fact, they also implicated William Kloiber, the person who this case is about. What happened is that Kloiber's attorney was smart because he asked for a special charge from the judge. And in this case, the witness was not able to identify Kloiber on the first few times he had a chance to. The lawyer in that case asked the judge to read a special instruction to the jury, which would have them give caution to the latest identification of him due to the ability of him to perceive. Eventually, he was convicted. And what happened is that at appeal, his lawyers actually argued that the charge in and of itself should have been even more fair and discussed the identification even further. Eventually, the conviction was upheld, but the court laid out the standards for what we know today as the Kloiber instruction. The court ruled the following: the question of identity was fairly and adequately covered in the court's charge, which consumed 2 pages on the point. The court called the jury's attention to the failure of the president and bookkeeper of the dress company to identify the defendants on 2 prior occasions, in contrast with the present identification of defendants at the trial, and told the jury that there can be mistakes made as far as identification testimony is concerned, and the jury must accept such testimony with caution. The court went on to later say that, on the other hand, when the witness is not in a position to clearly observe the assailant, or he is not positive as to identity, or his positive statements as to identity are weakened by qualification or by failure to identify defendant on 1 or more prior occasions, the accuracy of the identification is so doubtful that the court should warn the jury that the testimony as to the identity must be received with caution. That last paragraph I just read, you can rewind the video, is almost exactly what judges read to the juries when they get this Kloiber instruction. So how do you get it? So if there's one of a few factors must exist in the middle of the trial, and then you have to tell the judge that you want the Kloiber instruction, which is a standard instruction in their standard book. In fact, it's covered under Rule 4. It's under chapter. In fact, it's covered under Chapter 4.07. So when the judge reads this Kloiber instruction, it's quite powerful for the defense. It tells the jury that they need to take the identity with caution. Almost every time that I've had this charge read, I end up winning. In fact, I've had district attorneys, they fight tooth and nail to not get this instruction. So if you just showed that it's dark out, or the defendant was far away, or if there's any other instance where they were not identified, you're entitled to this instruction. In fact, if the judge doesn't give this instruction, I would suggest that that's reversible error. Even further, if your lawyer fails to ask for this instruction, I would suggest that they're ineffective in those situations that we discussed. I can't think of many, if at all, strategic reasons not to ask for this charge in any sort of case where the facts have an identification, and if they have some sort of factor that's present that would get you this charge. So, in long story short, if you've been arrested with a crime and you've been identified by somebody that you didn't know and they didn't have a good chance to see you, or if they had bad position or poor lighting, you should ask for this Kloiber charge. This should be read to the jury. And if you're having a judge trial, you should remind the judge of this charge and read it to them. If you've been injured or arrested in a crime, call the Liberty Law Team to help you win your case.